The movie begins by introducing us to a young woman named Frida, who works as a nail artist. She loves creating tiny animal designs on her clients' nails and also posts her work on Instagram. Frida dreams of becoming popular and getting the recognition she deserves, but despite her efforts, she has very few followers. One day, while scrolling through Instagram, Frida comes across a video of a tech millionaire named Slater King. In the video, Slater is publicly apologizing for his recent behavior and promising to do better while taking his company to even greater heights. Curious about him, Frida searches for Slater online and watches one of his interviews. There too, he is apologizing to people for the way he had been behaving lately. Apparently, his attitude had become increasingly rude and disrespectful, which had started creating controversy around him. Frida lives with her best friend Jess, and the two of them work as waitresses. Soon, they get ready for another shift, but Frida arrives late, which annoys her boss. He scolds her for being late, but Frida promises that it won't happen again. Later, Frida and Jess are dressed up and ready to serve drinks at an exclusive event. But when they arrive, they realize that this isn't an ordinary party. A luxury auction is taking place, and the place is packed with wealthy and influential people. And among all those rich guests is Slater King himself. Frida has been fascinated by Slater ever since she saw him online, so the moment she notices him, she becomes extremely excited. After the auction ends, the event turns into a huge party, and the waitresses change into their party outfits and begin enjoying themselves. Frida spots Slater again and decides to approach him. But just as she is trying to get closer to him, her high heel suddenly breaks, causing her to fall. This embarrassing moment unexpectedly gets Slater's attention. Instead of making fun of her, Slater walks over and breaks her other heel as well. He tells her that walking will be much easier now that both heels are gone. Frida has also injured her finger during the fall, so Slater's bodyguard, Stan, comes over and gives her a bandage. Slater then takes Frida inside and introduces her to his group of friends. They are all extremely wealthy and live a lifestyle that Frida and Jess could never have imagined. The two friends are thrilled to be around them and can barely believe that they are suddenly so close to Slater King. But then Slater's assistant approaches him and reminds him that it's time for them to leave. Slater tells her not to worry and says he'll leave shortly. As the group begins preparing to leave, Frida and Jess are left behind. But just when they think the night is over, Slater comes back to them. He asks if they would like to come with him. The reason is unbelievable. Slater and his friends are heading to his private island, where they plan to spend their time partying, drinking, and enjoying a luxurious vacation away from the outside world. And if Frida and Jess want, they can come along too. For the two girls, this is an opportunity they never imagined they'd get. They have never been invited into the world of people this rich and powerful before. So, without fully realizing what they are getting themselves into, Frida and Jess agree to go with Slater and his friends to the private island. Little do they know, this invitation is about to turn their dream vacation into a terrifying nightmare. Now everyone boards Slater's private jet and flies to his island. When they finally arrive at Slater's enormous mansion, they are amazed by how luxurious the place is. But as soon as they enter, Stacy tells everyone that using phones on the island isn't allowed. She asks everyone to hand over their phones and put them inside a bag. Since they have no reason to suspect anything, everyone willingly gives up their phones. Stacy then takes the bag away and hides it somewhere inside the mansion. Slater has invited 10 people to the island, 5 women and 5 men. Everyone settles into the mansion and goes to their rooms. The entire place feels incredibly peaceful and isolated from the outside world. Slater personally shows Frida her room and tells her that fresh clothes have been provided for all the guests. Frida takes a shower and notices a bottle of perfume in the bathroom called Desideria. Curious, she sprays some on herself, but the scent is extremely strong. When she walks out of the bathroom, she encounters one of the maids who is cleaning the room. The moment the maid sees Frida, she suddenly calls her Red Rabbit. Frida is confused and asks why she is calling her that. The maid walks closer, touches Frida's cheek, and once again calls her Red Rabbit before simply walking away. Frida is left completely confused by the strange encounter. After changing into her new clothes, Frida heads outside and quickly realizes that this vacation is going to be unlike anything she has ever experienced. She and Jess begin partying with the other girls, and before long, everyone is drinking, smoking, and getting high. The entire group spends their time partying without worrying about anything happening outside the island. While everyone is hanging around the swimming pool, Sarah approaches Slater and playfully feeds him coconut water. Meanwhile, Frida is drinking something when she suddenly starts choking. Slater immediately notices and comes over to check on her. Frida tells him that a cherry had gotten stuck in her throat, but fortunately she managed to cough it back out and is fine now. Slater then takes Frida away from the pool and walks with her through his garden. There, Frida notices several workers dealing with a yellow-colored snake. She asks Slater what they are doing. Slater explains that the snakes are highly poisonous and sometimes enter his property. His workers kill them to make sure they don't hurt anyone. Frida then changes the subject and asks Slater about his therapy. Slater admits that there are certain things from his past that he wants to forget, which is why he goes to therapy. He then asks Frida whether she believes in therapy. Frida tells him that she doesn't really understand the point of it. She can't imagine paying someone just to sit there and listen to her problems. But Slater explains that his therapist does more than simply listen. His therapist helps him uncover memories that he has buried deep inside his mind. Slater says there are things from more than 10 years ago that he wants to remember, and therapy is helping him bring those memories back. Just then Stacy arrives carrying several packages. When some of them accidentally fall to the ground, Frida immediately moves forward to help her. But Slater stops her and tells her that Stacy can handle it herself. Stacy then tells Slater that his favorite chair has arrived and that she has placed it in its new location. She also tells him that she has put his vape inside his drawer. Later that night, everyone gathers for dinner. Cody, who is the chef, brings out the food he has prepared for everyone. They all start eating and absolutely love it. Soon, the dinner turns into another night of drinking and partying. Everyone is extremely high, talking nonsense and laughing together at almost everything. Then Vic shows them a strange liquid that is incredibly strong. Frida is the first one to try it and soon everyone else starts drinking it as well. Within moments they become completely intoxicated. At one point, wine spills onto Frida's clothes, leaving a noticeable red stain. But when Frida wakes up the next morning, she looks at her clothes and realizes that the stain is completely gone. She is confused and wonders how that could possibly have happened. Elsewhere, Vic and Heather are playing chess. Heather is extremely high and suddenly looks at Vic's pinky finger. She asks him where his pinky went. Vic calmly tells her that sometimes it's better to forget certain things. That night, the group once again takes the drugs and becomes completely intoxicated. And the next morning they remember almost nothing. This cycle continues day after day. They party, drink, take drugs and enjoy themselves, only to wake up the next morning with their memories of the previous night almost completely gone. One night, Frida is sitting with Slater when she tries his vape. It's her first time using it, so she immediately starts coughing. Slater notices a scar near her eye and asks how she got it. But Frida has no idea. She tells him that she doesn't remember how it happened. Slater then takes her hand and looks closely at her nails. He asks her what she has drawn on them. Frida explains that she's a nail artist and that she specializes in creating animal designs on people's nails. Slater laughs at this and after a while he tells her that he's going to bed. However, he accidentally leaves his vape behind. Frida decides she'll simply return it to him the next day. The following morning, Frida wakes up and notices something strange. There is dirt underneath her fingernails. She has no idea how it got there. Confused, she heads to Slater's room to return his vape. When Slater arrives, Frida gives it back to him. Just then, a doctor arrives to meet with Slater. After their brief interaction, the doctor leaves and everyone goes back to their usual routine. More partying. More drinking. More drugs. Jess has a lighter with her name written on it, and the group keeps passing it around whenever someone wants to smoke. But despite everything appearing perfect on the surface, Frida starts feeling uneasy. While spending time with Slater, she tells him that she has a strange feeling that something bad is going to happen. She explains that everything has been going almost too perfectly. And whenever life becomes this perfect, she feels like something terrible must be waiting around the corner. Slater reassures her and tells her not to worry. According to him, nothing bad is going to happen. Meanwhile, Jess wanders toward the forest. There she suddenly sees the maid killing a snake. The sight makes Jess uncomfortable and suspicious, so she quietly walks away. That night, everyone gathers for dinner once again, and just like every other night, the dinner quickly turns into another wild party. But suddenly, everything changes when Jess gets bitten by a snake. She becomes terrified, but everyone around her immediately tries to calm her down. They give her some water and assure her that she will be fine. Frida takes Jess away from the others, and that's when Jess finally tells her what has been bothering her. She says that something is seriously wrong with this place. Everyone on the island is constantly drunk or high, and nobody ever seems to be completely sober. Jess believes that this can't be a coincidence. But Frida doesn't feel the same way. She tells Jess that they're getting everything they could possibly want here. Luxury, food, alcohol, drugs, and endless entertainment. As far as she's concerned, They're simply enjoying an incredible vacation. But Jess isn't convinced. She tells Frida that she wants to leave the island as soon as possible. Frida, however, eventually goes back to the others and continues enjoying the party. Meanwhile, Jess is left behind, and soon blood begins running from her nose. The next morning, Frida wakes up and immediately notices that Jess isn't in her room. At first, she assumes Jess has simply gone somewhere else. Frida gets dressed and heads outside, where she notices an envelope lying on the ground. While looking around, she suddenly spots a small hut nearby. Curious, she enters the hut and discovers several envelopes scattered around inside. But then she comes face to face with the maid. The maid looks at Frida and once again calls her Red Rabbit. She then gives Frida a strange drink. Frida takes a sip and asks what it is. The maid removes a cloth covering something nearby and reveals that the drink contains snake venom collected from the snakes she kills. Frida is shocked by what she has just discovered and immediately leaves the hut. Outside, she runs into Cody, who asks what she's doing there. Frida quickly tells him that she got lost and didn't know where she was going. But her real concern is Jess. She starts looking everywhere for her friend, but Jess is nowhere to be found. That night, Frida tries to enjoy herself with the others, but she can't stop thinking about Jess. Eventually she goes to sleep. The next morning, something even stranger happens. Frida wakes up and discovers that her nose is bleeding. She has no idea why. She goes to the bathroom to clean herself up, but something feels different. For the first time since arriving on the island, Frida doesn't feel high. Her mind feels unusually clear. And that's when she begins noticing just how strange everything around her really is. While the others continue partying as if nothing has happened, Frida becomes increasingly worried about Jess. Soon all the men arrive and announce that they're going fishing. They tell the women to stay behind and continue enjoying themselves. Once the men leave, Frida starts questioning the other women about Jess. But their answers are shocking. They are so intoxicated that none of them can even remember whether Jess was ever on the island. Frida can't believe what she's hearing. How could everyone forget Jess? That's when she finally realizes that something is definitely wrong. She returns to her room and washes her face, desperately trying to remember what has been happening. Then, as fragments of memories begin coming back to her, she suddenly punches the mirror. Something falls from behind it. It's a knife. Frida immediately realizes that Jess must have hidden it there for a reason. Just then Sarah arrives at her door. She has brought Jess's lighter back. Sarah explains that she doesn't remember whether Jess was actually on the island or not. But when she found the lighter with Jess's name written on it, she realized that Jess must have been here. That's why she came to Frida. She wants to understand what is happening. Frida admits that she also feels that something is seriously wrong. Everything around them looks perfect, but they keep forgetting things. And then Sarah shows Frida a wound on her own body. She has absolutely no idea how she got it. Sarah then reveals something even more disturbing. None of the women on the island actually know each other. They were all brought here separately. Sarah herself only came because she believed Slater might help get her on television. Frida is stunned. Suddenly, the entire island starts looking different to her. These people aren't here by coincidence. They were brought here for a reason. And then Frida remembers something Slater once told her. He said that forgetting can sometimes be a gift. But now Frida begins to wonder if that wasn't just some philosophical statement. Maybe he's deliberately trying to erase their memories. After realizing that something is seriously wrong, Frida and Sarah return to the small hut. Inside, they discover several bottles of the same perfume that had been placed in their bathrooms. Frida immediately starts connecting the dots. She realizes that this perfume must be connected to the reason they can't remember what happens every night. Then Frida tells Sarah what happened when she was inside the hut. The maid had made her drink something containing snake venom. And strangely enough, after drinking it, Frida suddenly started feeling completely normal again. That's when Frida realizes that the snake venom might be counteracting whatever has been suppressing their memories. If that's true, then the other women need to drink it too. Sarah takes the venom first. At first, she feels extremely strange. But soon, her mind begins to clear. She suddenly starts remembering things she had completely forgotten. Sarah becomes visibly disturbed as fragments of the previous nights come rushing back to her. Frida then calls the other women over and they secretly give them the venom as well. Soon, Sarah's nose begins to bleed. And then she realizes that her memories are returning. She remembers what the men have been doing to them. The women haven't simply been partying every night. They have been drugged, restrained, and sexually assaulted while they were unable to remember what was happening. But then Frida remembers something even more horrifying. She remembers Jess. The night Jess was bitten by the snake, The venom had already started counteracting the memory-erasing effects of the perfume. That's why Jess suddenly became suspicious. That's why she kept telling Frida that something was wrong. And that's why she wanted to leave the island. Jess had started remembering what the men were doing to them. But Slater eventually realized that something was different about her. The snake venom meant that Jess could remember. And if Jess remembered everything, she could expose them. Frida's memories then show her the horrifying truth. She remembers seeing Slater confront Jess. Jess was terrified and tried to resist him. But Slater attacked her and killed her. Frida watches in horror as her best friend is murdered. And then comes the most disturbing part. After Jess is killed, Frida's own memory of the incident is erased. That's why she woke up the next morning unable to understand where Jess had gone. That's why none of the other women could remember Jess. And that's why everyone acted as if Frida had imagined her entire existence. Jess hadn't left the island. She had been killed because she remembered the truth. Now Frida finally understands what happened to her best friend. Meanwhile, Sarah is also beginning to remember everything that was done to her. She becomes furious. One of the men approaches her from behind, but Sarah immediately turns around and attacks him, breaking his nose. The women are no longer helpless. They remember. And now they know exactly what the men have been doing to them. But Frida realizes that they still have to pretend that they are unaware. If Slater discovers that their memories have returned, he will try to stop them. So Frida and Sarah return to the others and act completely normal. They laugh, dance, and pretend to be just as intoxicated as before. But inside they are completely sober. And they are secretly preparing for revenge. That night, everyone gathers for dinner. Frida and Sarah deliberately avoid eating, which catches Slater's attention. He asks Frida why she isn't eating. To avoid raising suspicion, Frida begins eating the food. And as she does, even more of her memories begin returning. She remembers the horrifying nights when the men would overpower the women, restrain them, and sexually assault them while they were heavily intoxicated. She remembers waking up afterward with unexplained injuries and no idea how she got them. She remembers the strange changes in her clothes. And then she remembers the dirt underneath her fingernails. Now Frida and Sarah continue pretending that nothing has changed. But Slater begins to suspect that something is different. He watches them carefully. So Frida and Sarah suddenly start dancing and acting completely high. Their performance convinces Slater that they still don't remember anything. The men then take the women away, preparing to repeat what they have been doing every night. But this time, everything falls apart. Camilla suddenly gets a nosebleed. Her memories begin returning. She remembers what the men have been doing to them. Overcome with rage, Camilla grabs a knife and attacks Tom, stabbing him in the neck. Tom dies on the spot. Heather also begins remembering everything. She immediately turns against Vic. Vic realizes that Heather now knows the truth and runs away from her. But Heather catches him and attacks him violently. She beats him badly, determined to make him pay for what he did. Sarah also turns against Cody, forcing him to run for his life. But before the women can finish what they started, Slater's bodyguard, Stan, arrives. Stan shoots Heather, killing her. Frida is horrified and immediately runs for her life. Stan chases after her, trying to stop her from escaping. Frida falls while running and injures herself. She looks behind her and sees Stan approaching with his gun. Just when it seems like Frida is about to be killed, Sarah appears behind him. She grabs a heavy object and strikes Stan in the head. He collapses and dies. Sarah then takes his gun. Frida looks at her. For the first time, they aren't running from the men anymore. They are fighting back. After escaping from the chaos, Frida and Sarah start planning their next move. There are only a few men left alive: Slater, Vic, Lucas, and Cody. Vic is badly injured and desperately asks them to take him to a hospital, but there is no way for them to get him there. Meanwhile, the men manage to capture Camilla and bring her back inside. Camilla desperately tries to scream for help, but Slater walks over and presses his foot against her throat. Despite her struggle, Slater keeps applying pressure until Camilla dies. At the same time, Frida returns to her room. But suddenly she collapses. As she falls, the photographs she had taken earlier scatter across the floor. Frida picks one of them up and looks closely at it. What she sees leaves her completely shocked. It's a photograph of herself. But this isn't a picture from the current trip. It's from the previous year. And suddenly everything begins to make sense. Just then Stacy appears. Frida believes Stacy might help her because she's a woman and might finally understand what the men have been doing. But Stacy's reaction is completely different. She tells Frida that what Slater does is justified. According to Stacy, the women deserve what happens to them, and forgetting everything is better than remembering the pain. Frida becomes furious. She realizes that Stacy has known about everything all along and has willingly helped Slater maintain the entire system. Frida grabs the knife Jess had hidden and stabs Stacy. Stacy dies, and as she falls, the photographs spill out of her belongings. Frida looks at one of them again. And this time, she notices something that finally explains the maid's strange behavior. In the photograph, Frida has red rabbit designs painted on her nails. That's when she understands what red rabbit means. The maid wasn't randomly calling her that. She recognized Frida. 1 year earlier. Frida suddenly remembers that she had been brought to Slater's island before and had experienced the same horrifying treatment. She also remembers how she got the scar near her eye. She had tried to escape, but during the struggle, she fell and injured herself. Then her memories had been erased. That's why she never remembered being here. And that's why Slater already knew her. Meanwhile, Cody heads toward the woods, hoping to reach a vehicle and escape the island. But Sarah follows him. She catches up with Cody and shoots him, killing him. Sarah then returns to Frida. Frida shows her the photograph, and Sarah realizes what it means. Frida tells her that she had actually been on the island the previous year. The two women now know exactly what they have to do. They head toward Slater's villa to finish this once and for all. When they knock on the door, Lucas is inside with Slater and the badly injured Vic. Lucas is terrified and starts realizing that the situation has completely spiraled out of control. He wants to help the women, but Slater tries to stop him. Eventually, Lucas goes toward the door. Frida and Sarah take advantage of the opportunity and shoot him. Now only Slater and Vic remain inside. Slater immediately drags Frida into the villa and locks the door. Slater realizes that Frida remembers everything and tells her that none of this is going to stop him. Once he kills Frida and Sarah, he'll simply start everything again. Just then, Sarah arrives outside and starts shooting at the door, but she quickly runs out of bullets. Slater rushes out, grabs her and drags her inside. But Frida has already freed herself and is holding a knife. Slater takes it from her and moves towards Sarah, ready to kill her. However, the moment he takes a puff from his vape, everything suddenly changes. Slater looks around in confusion and asks what they're doing there. Frida had secretly put the memory-erasing substance into his vape. Slater's memories disappear completely. He no longer remembers Frida, the island, or anything he did to the women. Suddenly, a candle falls and the mansion catches fire. Frida grabs Sarah and escapes, but she also takes the unconscious Slater with them. Sarah is shocked and asks why Frida is keeping him alive. Frida simply smiles and tells her that she's going to teach Slater a lesson he'll never forget. A few months later, we see Slater at an auction. But now he's a completely different person. When the doctor arrives to meet him, Slater introduces him to his wife. And his wife is Frida. Frida calmly tells the doctor that he's fired, and her security team immediately takes him away. The reason is simple. Frida completely erased Slater's old memories and convinced him that she loved him. She then married him and became the owner of his enormous fortune. Now the billionaire who once controlled women has become completely dependent on Frida. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching.